All right, live. Hi, welcome to 3 months in already. Well, really, like
It's March.
2 full months gone. Still the beginning of March, but it's getting nice out, at least in New York.
Sure, it was nice yesterday, and then today,
A little cool.
back to blustery.
Yesterday was gorgeous, midday. So I guess we got to still get through April and all the
Seasonal change.
rain and wind and everything else. But hey, we have to say welcome back to Victor, back in New York and back at MacAdmin Monthly and a new job.
Training in person now.
There you go. You can make it here all the time now.
Yeah, it's amazing how it was always like it's gonna take me a long time to get there, so I just do it from the office now. I'm doing that long term every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Although this week is not good because I wake up and I'm like, why am I awake?
Yeah. You're up too early because you don't have to get to the office that early.
Well, I get up early, but because of the time change. So.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of travel. So I'm always excited about conferences. Bunch of conferences coming up. X-World, Penn State, but the two that I've been thinking about quite a bit are MacSysAdmin and MacTech, of course. MacTech, I'm not necessarily as involved as I was, but I'm still helping find speakers and things like that. So if
You're never gonna stop being involved.
no, never gonna stop being involved. Although MacTech moved dates this year, I forget what happened. So it's actually like 2 or 3 weeks after MacSysAdmin. So they're quite close, and they're in like complete opposite directions of each other. So I think probably for most people those will be difficult to attend both. But MacSysAdmin, we spoke a little bit last time. The founder of MacSysAdmin passed away, so I've been trying to help Patrick, who's running MacSysAdmin now, identify speakers and find people, and we're always looking for new voices, so suggestions are always welcome. If that's you, let me know. Happy to pass those things along. And with that, yeah, the topic I was thinking about a little bit that I alluded to earlier is last month we had Tim Perfit on, and we wound up talking about this thing that he built, Mac Deploy Stick, which is a little Arduino that drives a Mac to help you deploy your Mac. It automates the setup, etc. And that got me thinking, there are all of these things that as Mac and Apple administrators that we need to do and know that aren't from Apple. There was a time recently that we had OS X Server, and that helped us manage our Macs and run our Macs in a completely Apple provided manner. And even if you go further back, like companies were smaller and Mac departments were smaller, and you could go get another Mac and run file sharing and share a bunch of files, and it was like no big deal. But those days are kind of gone, and I'm just curious. Obviously, we have a leaning towards Google people here. But I've been thinking about that as well, and I'd love to hear from other people as they join in. As a Mac admin, how much non-Apple stuff do you need to deal with to manage your Macs? And I think even smaller businesses now, you end up using cloud services or other things, and even if you're kind of shielded from all the back-end stuff, you're using a UI that wasn't created by Apple and things like that. I think probably the friendliest one I've seen is Fleetsmith. Like they're some pretty diehard Apple people, and it's a wonderful UI, but like they came onto the scene a little. So
we use Fleetsmith
yeah,
the past year, and
really
happy with it actually.
It's I've seen demos of it, and we had Jesse on here 1 month, and
cool.
It looks great, especially like if you're a G Suite customer, like it ties in with all of that. Yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we are. We're about 90% on board. We are G Suite, and 500 or 600 Chromebooks is sort of our primary cluster of devices and users.
Just for everyone else's context, you're at a school.
Yeah, we're a special needs. It was 6th through 12, but we're kind of getting younger, so maybe 3rd through 12th, and then we also have a small, kind of a micro campus that does post high school that helps people, graduates transition to either like a vocation or go on to college. So we have pretty wide spectrum, and we have 6 physical locations, 5 campuses. So it has to be cloud, basically. When they brought me on board about 5 years ago, it was just a server rack and a building in Chelsea, not far from where you are actually. And now we've really grown, and it just had to go cloud-based, and it had to be, the most effective, fastest management. So we've done a lot of Chromebooks. We went full G Suite, but we still have these Macs that were several OS revisions out of date. Nobody had any idea. People installing terrible things. So we spent a lot of hands-on time last summer with a variety of MDM folks, and Fleetsmith won our business because they really automate so many things that are really common and really time-consuming, like the sort of Chrome vulnerability that came out a week ago or whatever. We went into the console and mandated the very latest version, and it was out in 36 hours or something to the whole fleet. So we've been super happy, and you can customize as well. You can write your own scripts and deploy them once or repetitively, and a lot of the sort of common applications that you would use across an organization, Slack or Dropbox or Google Drive file stream or whatever, they have a catalog, basically like an app store. You can just push it right out. So it's a combination of MDM and a little agent that's local on the machine.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Like, most people are moving to the cloud in one way or another. Even Windows shops are now, finding the religion in Azure AD, which runs Active Directory in the cloud for you. Yeah, that's a good question, though. I don't know, as Mac, for the Macs, I don't think there's anything quite equivalent to that, though. Like, you might have an MDM in the cloud, but you're not really running your directory service in the cloud. So you still have this situation where your local machine password may be different than your SSO sign-in, which I'm not particularly that fussed about, but I could see it being confusing for some people.
There's Jump Cloud. Have you guys heard of that?
Yeah, we actually had them do a presentation probably 3 years ago by now. But yeah, I've used Jump Cloud a little bit, and I think they're good. And yeah, I mean there are these identity providers. I don't know, like Okta, Jump Cloud. What's the other? There's one more. One login. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if they tie into your machine login as well. I don't think so.
So one login we used at the school I worked at, and they had Active Directory sync.
Oh,
so
okay.
if you're logging out of Active Directory to your Mac, you have the same credentials.
That's probably the majority of ways that people keep accounts in sync, using Active Directory rather than LDAP or something else. But yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, there are these identity providers. I could go either way on that. But then again, that's, kind of the heart of the question. Is like, that's yet another non-Apple, non-Mac based solution. And actually, getting back to your statement before about before you went to Fleetsmith, you just had some servers in a rack. Were they Mac servers or were they Linux servers kind of doing all this work?
We were mostly trying to get as much life out of dying Mac servers as we could.
Okay.
Uh,
I mean,
we have 1 or 2 Linux servers, but not for anything super production.
okay. I mean, I guess even Windows is a decent solution you can time into and file share and whatnot.
Expensive.
It's expensive, but if you have a Windows fleet, it might be something you're doing already anyway.
It's the client access licenses that you
Yeah.
pay for.
The client access licenses will burn you. But yeah, but again, if you have a relatively small Mac fleet compared to your Windows fleet, maybe it's part of your infrastructure already, so that's just what you do. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other situations where you need a bunch of non-Apple provided stuff to manage your Macs. But even the MDMs, right? Like Mobile Iron or whatever, it's this UI that you have to get used to, and even something like Micro MDM, you're more likely running that on. No, but I'm saying you're running that on Linux. You're most likely running that on Linux and not on a Mac, right? You're putting that in a data center or cloud somewhere and running that.
I made it compatible with Windows, and nobody's asked me to run it on Windows, but it's there.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. Okay, but I don't know. I guess that's not causing anybody any heartache.
Yeah.
Like it's just something as a Mac administrator now that you're expected to do. I'd love to hear from people that are just like, yeah, I'm a Mac person and I hate having to learn other platforms or learn all this other stuff.
It might depend on how involved on the entire infrastructure of the company you are. If you're just the Mac person doing Mac things, maybe it's much more restricted. But if you're one of a small group of the IT people in the company, you've got DHCP, some sort of email service or something. If you're not using the cloud, DHCP configuration. I just said that, things like that. So internal router configurations, things like that, where you'd end up dealing with non-Mac things, just as a matter of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all kind of lucky now that most scripting languages that we use for automation, Python, Go, whatever, to kind of Bash even, right? Like covers multiple platforms, so you don't have to relearn a lot of this stuff over and over again. So that's a nice bonus to some degree. Python runs on Windows, Go runs on Windows. Can't think of any other languages that people are using for automation type stuff. So I guess that's a bonus. But it's never really the language, right? It's the APIs. So if you're doing Python and you have to learn Objective-C because of the Objective-C bridge and you want to do something fancy specific on Macs, it's like bringing it up to another level.
Yeah, the thing I've been finding more frustrating is the fact that you can run everything on cloud, and then just 1% of your tasks have to be done on a Mac, so you do need specialized Mac, like builds and all that, and code signing.
Yeah,
that's the worst part, I guess, because you can't fully get rid of your Mac infrastructure.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. Like it's not that we're opposed to using Macs necessarily, but there's no real data center solution for the Mac, and we would like to be able to virtualize a lot of this stuff away if it's running in the cloud. So if it gets hung up or something, you just crush the virtualized instance or container or whatever you're running it in, spin it up again. There are no signs that Apple is going to let that happen, but
yeah, and even beyond that, the current Mac hardware isn't really well suited for living in a data center, and remote power, remote control, things like that doesn't really.
No,
it's trickier to do, and much less just the actual just physically putting in there. Well,
I guess there are. Mac Mac Mini Colo, right? They're doing it. They're racking stuff up and remote power and all those things, which is fine. But your mention of hardware, oh man, wasn't the modular Pro supposed to by now? The end of this that they had until.
I think they're supposed to show it to us in the spring and ship it by the end of the year.
March 25th is their event, so we'll probably know by then.
I don't know. I think that's just going to be about TV and movies, right? That's what it seemed like.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the invite was something like
3,
join
2,
the show,
4.
yeah, and the film countdown.
Yeah.
But the Mac Pro, which I
For
love,
movie editors.
maybe, which I do love the Mac Pro, but it's a 6-year-old machine now.
Oh, it's
Do you not like?
ridiculously old.
It's ridiculously old, still
Well,
being sold
I
at the
like
same
it.
prices
I mean, I wouldn't buy one
now.
now, but I
Maybe
would.
not now.
It was a good machine when it came out, but 6 years is a long time.
It's still, to be honest, it still kind of holds up. Like I think it's still a powerful machine.
My iMac Pro is so much faster
Oh,
than my
yeah.
old Mac Pro. And I don't think if it was more expensive in the end. Maybe it's a little more expensive, but
Well,
not
it came
that
with
much.
just nice display.
It came with a really beautiful display.
Yeah.
And it's no more absurd a form factor. Like it's not like
Yeah.
they're selling like some standard form factor. Like I just want a computer. It's like they're selling this one ridiculous thing. I'll buy the other ridiculous thing. It's just a screen on it. Well,
Yeah. Yeah. That's like super interesting. I guess I had the dates messed up when they sort of like were pushed into saying like no, we're gonna come out with this thing by the end of next year. And I thought
I
for some-
had December last year.
I
could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. I always get dates wrong.
I'm assuming they've moved the goalposts. No one remembers at this point.
I assume that's the case.
It's always been this year. What are you talking about, Ed?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, you're right. They refreshed the Mini, which is nice, and they refreshed they have the iMac Pro, which is beautiful display.
The new Mini's pretty powerful.
I mean, WWDC is traditionally a time when they've released Mac Pros. So that is
Yes,
that
right.
is unfortunate.
That's why I think we'll see hardware refresh at WDC, not at this March 25th event. Just who knows? But
Very late spring, June.
that is very late spring. Shifting hardware topics, iMac Pro. Anybody using the iPad Pro? I'm sorry, iPads. No.
I have not the 10-inch one.
Yeah. Have you been using it?
Only for flight related stuff.
Yeah.
It's nice there, but I don't know. It's not actually doing anything super powerful. The battery looks great because it's a giant battery with a screen on top. So
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
nice.
I think it's wonderful. The new ones. I mean, honestly, the only thing it does feel like you could bend it. Like it just feels flimsy, but it's a great piece of equipment. I just don't think I have room in my life for a tablet anymore.
I don't know. I like tablets, and I'm finding I can do more and more of my work on a tablet. Quite honestly, I'm finding I have less and less excuse not to be using a Chromebook because you got Chrome OS, you got Crostini if you want to run containers and Linux stuff, and there you go. Nice. And you can do a tablet form factor if you have the right hardware. But you can run Android applications.
So you can bend any Chromebook and have like that.
But some of them keep working.
Yeah. But I think the Chromebooks are really great. But I do like the form factor of the iPads. I was looking at the newer ones. I think I'm going to wait. I assume I'm waiting for the Rev 2 of this current generation.
The new pencil is really nice.
The new
pencil
pencil
It's
is
actually surprisingly
it works well.
better.
I like that it's USB-C because I don't
Yes.
have any other lightning-ish things in my life, so I'm glad I didn't have a special thing. Well, actually, my keyboard and trackpad are charged with lightning, which is
I just consider the USB connections. I don't
Yeah.
ever unplug.
Yeah.
For personal reasons, I'm still wanting an updated iPad Mini because that's the form factor that I would like to use when I'm doing my flying because I fly in a small plane.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty particular use case, and not.
I like that form factor a lot too. Like it's a nice, if you're going to use it as an e-reader, it's a really nice form factor.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of like, I would be more likely to carry that around and do stuff than
I kind of agree. Like, I feel like my next Mac, I want to go smaller if possible. Like, this is the 13, and some people even consider that kind of small, but I would either go to the 13 Air, or hopefully Apple will one day refresh the 12-inch Air. And I love the 12-inch Air form factor, super light. But I feel the same way with the iPads. I went to the store, I was looking at both of them, and part of me has the same, feeling as you of like, I kind of want a smaller and thing you throw in the bag and use on a plane.
Yeah.
But if I'm genuinely looking at it, maybe replacing my computer,
Sure.
I don't know. Do I want the larger one? But yeah, it's a little clumsy to.
Well, if you're doing
throw
it
in
as
the bag.
is essentially a computer replacement, then maybe the larger one, the middle-sized one, whatever you want to call it, is the right choice.
Maybe.
But,
I'm not
but
sure.
I mean, the mini, I always like that form factor, even like either from Apple or the Nexus 7, that sort of Android. That was the tablet size that I always found convenient.
Yeah.
And I would actually use. I've had a few other larger tablets, and I always kind of like them. It's just big and heavy. I'm not gonna haul it around.
Yeah. But yeah, I played with the new iPad Pros.
Yeah.
They're very nice.
Yeah,
But
really nice screen.
Yeah.
Takes great pictures if you hold it up.
It's cool to walk around like this.
I know a few people who've been trying to use them as their primary developer machines. They're, if you have a DigitalOcean box, you can SSH into it. There's a great app called Blink.
yeah, I use Blink. And for Mosh, yeah, that's fantastic. And it's great for that. It falls down when you need to do Apple specific development largely, right? If you can do all your development in this virtualized Linux environment, great. Maybe you're doing pure web development, great. Anything else that you want to do, particularly reversing, right? Like you still kind of need a Mac or Windows box for that matter, but the
You
iPad.
can get VMware on the iPad that runs a virtual Mac OS.
That would actually be awesome.
That would.
If you could do that like
And
smoothly.
then iOS.
Oh, I will say,
all the way down.
total tangent. Speaking of like remote access, and if you have an iPad now, Sony finally shipped the PlayStation remote for iOS. And after a week of travel, I finally had a chance to fire it up the other night, and it works amazingly well.
That is amazing.
Do you have to connect a controller, or is it?
It does a
on
virtual
screen?
controller, or you can pair a Sony DualShock over
nice.
Bluetooth and use a real
That's really
DualShock. And it's amazing. It works so well. Maybe after this, I'll see if I can connect to my machine at home, see if that works. I've only done it in my house so far, but it does work really well. And even if it's asleep, takes a minute, wakes it up.
As long
does the thing.
as long as your PlayStation isn't powered off,
Yeah.
just sleep mode will go. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, PlayStation Plus. I'll wake up.
Yeah, so super nice.
I
But
have an iOS question for the gallery. What's the best app for taking longhand notes on the iPad and having it actually do OCR or whatever it would be, hand recognition, using the Apple Pencil?
What do you think is most powerful as a Newton?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
See, I will have to let someone else answer that because I do love the pencil for video stuff, and I have why can't I remember the name of it? AstroPad, which lets you use your iPad almost as a Wacom tablet for your Mac. So if you have Photoshop running on your Mac, you can be doing all the pencil stuff. Love it. For notes, keyboard. I'm a keyboard person. I will sit there and type. I didn't like writing by hand when I was in school, so I don't like it now. I'm not going to go back to a pencil, but I understand the desire to do that, and I understand liking that more. I personally like. That's not what I look for. I'll type.
So I recently got a Remarkable tablet, and it's basically a e-ink display that you can write on. It's really great. But to answer the question, I also have an iPad that I sometimes write with a pencil on, and I don't have a solution for it yet, but I have a project in mind where I would sync both the PDFs from the Remarkable and PDF exports from Notability, and have some sort of service that would OCR and index all the pages. Yeah. The Remarkable does OCR locally, but you lose the written form when you press that button. So it's like or like I don't have good handwriting and I just scribble and stuff. The most important bit is to 200 pages to be able to quickly search and say this is the page that I was looking for and go there. So really, I just wanted an indexing OCR service.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. That's interesting.
There's a few cloud products that will OCR stuff. Really.
If it's something you don't mind sharing with that cloud service, it's not your top secret notes or something. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I think, as you were saying that, I think that's part of my reluctance for handwriting notes. I have terrible handwriting, and I want to be able to come back and read it later on. So
Yeah, I can't read my own handwriting after a few days.
Yeah, so it's like type, gotta type. That's.
Although to be fair, most of my handwriting experience is taking notes, like during interviews where I'm trying to not focus carefully and scribbling quickly. So maybe that's not a very valid sample. I can actually write well if I try to, but I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. That wraps up my questions. I don't know if anyone has any other questions.
Zach McCauley on Slack mentioned that he's a huge user of Notability.
Okay.
Roommate uses it too, and it does handwriting to text.
Well, now you know.
Can I get graffiti though? How much graffiti?
Yeah, that was.
There's also
Eat Up
paper
Martha.
It used to be 53,
Oh,
but I
that's
think
right.
got bought out by somebody else. And it always killed me
Came with
because I love taking notes with Notability. And paper has this feature where you can scribble a shape and it will actually turn it into a vector graphic. And so like it'll detect a circle and make you a perfect circle. And I want that, but in Notability. And like that's the only thing I want from paper. It's not available, so it's all of these iPad apps. They're like they have the one killer feature and then a bunch of like you want the killer feature from 3 different note-taking apps and 3 different calendar apps.
I guess that's the real question. Are we better off than we were 20 years ago with the Newton and your Mac? And
Like the second gen Newton was pretty good.
Yeah.
Recognizing my crappy handwriting at the time.
The Newton Pro.
And that was a long time ago.
I agree.
Was that
Palm Pilot was incredibly.
23, 24. The Palm Pilot, just the graffiti thing would really work really well.
Yeah. Actually, I was just thinking the other day about what before. Like you said this before, like I got a new phone. I'm like, this is the best phone I've ever had. And you're like, well, every phone you get should always be the best one you ever had because it should be an upgrade, right? And I was thinking, what is actually like the phone that most changed my life? And it was the Trio.
Okay.
Like getting the Trio,
Yeah.
getting a phone you could run apps on, had your contacts accessible in it, and give you data, roaming data.
Mhm.
That was life changing.
Yeah.
Like the iPhone was a much better product, but it didn't deliver as many new things.
Yes.
Except maps.
Yeah. I agree, and I think Palm in general for a lot of people would be that first because even like, oh my gosh, I was consulting at the time and I remember how many people had issues with the Palm sync. That was miserable, but when it worked,
Really,
it was terrible. But
And there were like third-party Palm Sync apps you could get.
yeah,
I remember handing a sync database file on
Oh my God.
that like broke. And I was like,
awful. But when it worked, and I guess it worked most of the time. I was just
it did.
being called in when it broke. But people were like, hey, Palm, and I have my schedule with me, and I have, all this information with me. Like, all right, that's pretty cool. So, yeah.
You just remind me, I just remember going to consulting and going to a client, and they've got like every contact 7 times because their Palm Sync was broken, and it was
Brutal.
Those are the days.
Brutal. Sync services, man. Okay, where are we? What's next? Macaduck.
Yes.
Is anyone going?
Yep.
You're going.
I'm going. Tom's going to be there.
Nice. I will
It's
not.
just before Brexit, but I don't know what's
Yeah.
going to happen with that.
You might not get back. Who knows?
Well, I'm leaving. So Tom's leaving after. I'm leaving
Oh.
before, and I'm going to be in Spain, watching from a safe,
From a
reasonable
distance.
distance.
I'll be
Tom's
sleeping
gonna.
in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. So the current status is the current deal was voted no.
Yeah.
Tomorrow they're going to vote on a no deal Brexit, and the day after that they're going to vote on delaying it. And if all of those three things fail, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone
Should be
I
fun.
think if they say no to all of those, they're actually saying yes to the no deal Brexit.
Yeah, I think in the
Yeah.
it doesn't whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are we to talk?
Well, anyway, enjoy that. Are either of you speaking or just attending? Okay. I would have loved to have made it this year. Timing didn't work out. But after that, we have Penn State. Is anyone going to Penn State?
I haven't decided yet.
I'm thinking
Is YVR before or after?
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
YVR is
YVR's in June.
like just before Penn State.
Yeah, and Mac Deploy is that same week.
Yeah, usually that same week. Is anyone going to either of
I was
those?
planning on going to the YVR,
YVR?
but I haven't heard that.
I've been chatting with Clyde. They're still planning on making Currycon happen.
Oh, really?
They're
Okay.
partnering with Trail Bits here in New York, so the conference is actually going to be in New York
Oh,
this year. Yeah,
amazing.
but
you heard it here first.
yeah, they'll announce that they're preparing their CFP, so it'll be
Okay, good.
sometime in June also. So
Well, I like the Trail of Bits guys. I saw them pretty recently. Dan. So good group.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Penn State. I would probably be convinced to go if other people were going. I don't know. Just because I can drive.
I'll be there with at least one person.
Excellent. Excellent. Are you presenting or are you just attending?
I'm toying with the idea of trying to package up what we have done over the past couple of years into a presentation. So
That would be good. You should do it.
on my homework list for this week, so hopefully I'll arrive there.
Well, it's an easy drive. That's the nice thing for us East Coasters.
Yeah, it is easy. It's great. I don't have to even ask. Just go to that one. So
Exactly. And that the conference hotel is like $100 a night or something. Just so
it's really reasonable. Yeah.
it's easy. Yeah. But yeah, that's the only one I'm thinking that like I'm kind of on the fence about. See who else is going, kind of thing. And certainly, like I said, X-World is coming up, but Max Admin in Gothenburg, Sweden, and Mac Tech, if anyone's interested.
Redondo Beach.
Yes, again, Redondo Beach, Los Angeles. But if anyone's interested in presenting at either of those, let me know.
Which one is that that's in Redondo Beach?
Mac Tech.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I have family there. So
Oh, okay. Well, you should at the very least attend.
I should totally go to that.
Yeah, that's in mid-October.
Right on. I'm all right. I'm gonna look at that.
Cool. All right, with that, I think we can wrap it up. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next month.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yes.
I was just putting